Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lock Shop. Huss, good to see you, my friend. And Matthew Owanek wants me to say hi, Huss. I guess he had a lot of fun with you the last couple of days, buddy. Classic mute scenario. Huss, are you muted?
Sorry about that, Dusty. Yes. Hi to Iwanek. I had a great time doing the show with Iwanek. Iwanek is one of those professionals, and you will be shocked. I, in fact, did refer to him a couple times as the brains of the operation.
Oh, my goodness.
Just trying to start controversy and things going on there in the office. But no, it was great. Like, you know, Jake and Pat came on for a couple days. We had Andy McNeil jump on for a bit of a playoff preview on Friday while you were away. And then, you know, we'd originally, the guys will come on, and then realize that, no, Jake and Pat are gallivanting as we speak at the Zurich Classic down in New Orleans. So they were unavailable. And listen, I know he's doing some heavy lifting with the number of shows, especially while you were away, but he jumped in, and that's the beauty of the Lock Shop. I mean, it's pretty chill. We're talking about the big stories of the day, similar to regular sports talk. Then we get into some of the games, and I had to thank him because, you know, he's on it. He's getting notifications. We got word live while we were going through the NHL lines 2 days ago that Demko was out, and
he told me this story.
We were already planning on probably going with Nashville, but there was an urgency to get the wagers in because of the way that line was going to move. So we got them at plus 133 and then ended up finishing up at, I think, plus 105 or something like that. But no, it was a great couple days. We didn't even get to talking soccer at some point. So when the Copa is coming up before he goes, we'll have to have a special guest appearance of Iwanek to give us some intel on the Copa before Canada takes on Messi and we get going on. But right now, this is a great day for you to come back, dude. It is a far lower stress day with neither the Jets nor Oilers playing today. And we've got the NFL draft tonight.
We do have the NFL draft.
My favorite days. And I haven't looked at the lines this morning, but we looked at them at the end of yesterday's show. There's nothing more volatile when it comes to line movement than draft lines. Not to be confused with the draft lines you need to clean on your keg. So anyways, we're gonna be getting into that. I figure we talk some hockey for a bit, and then is this today the last day for the keyword as well?
Today's last keyword. We're giving away the trip tomorrow morning, so we've got that going for us. But I mean, we got the draft. We'll get to that. We recap NHL last night. Talk about the two games on tap tonight. Try to maybe dive into that Lakers Nuggets game tonight a little bit. That's been a crazy series to watch so far. I'll tell you my story.
I won a 5-gamer.
Did you?
On the Nuggets. It was funny because that whole theme that day was talking about how the home teams had been so good.
Yep.
And we were like, obviously, it's every team isn't going to win. Who are we nervous about? So I took Dallas off the ticket. I had the Oilers. I had the Hurricanes. The Knicks, who came back and won in ridiculous fashion. The Cavs and the Nugs. And both the Nuggets and the Hurricanes, which were the two chalkiest teams on that parlay, had to pull straight up Houdini acts to win. So anyways, that was nice. But hey, just before we dive into it, looked like you and the fam had a great time down there. First of all, lots of TV time. Smart move wearing your EST hat at the Jays game.
Yeah.
You got to see a good one. How was the rest of it?
It was good, man. It was, what happened here? My mic just fell down. Hang on a sec. It was awesome. San Diego. Have you been to San Diego? Have you done San Diego?
I have not. I have
Buddy.
not. We talk to the Hacksaw every week from San Diego. But I've not yet
Petco Park is awesome. Yeah, I sat down there and they're like, "Welcome to the #1 ballpark in America," as voted by. And I was like, "What?" Like, and it's got an old building from the town that the stadium's like built around, and it's right down the third base line. It's so awesome, man. It's San Diego was great city. Legoland was unreal. But it's funny because bring up the Lakers game. So it's our last night there. Lakers game 2. And we let the kids watch some TV, and Tammy and I went down to have like a end of the trip drink in the bar at the Westin we were staying at. Go down, sit down, and I think she was thinking we were going down to like recap the trip and talk about all this good stuff. But I got the Lakers game on the TV right in front of me, and they're up by 20. This is when they're up by 20 in the third quarter. And I'm still losing it on every possession. And she's like, "Calm down. They're up by 20. I said, "It doesn't matter. They're going to lose." And then like one of their guys, I can't remember if it was LeBron or Rui Hachimura, one of them missed a layup when they were up by like 18 or 20. And I was like, that's it. You can't hit shots like that. You're going to blow this. And she goes, "You're nuts." So we go back up to the room, put the kids to bed. It's the fourth quarter's coming up. It's our last night of vacation. She's like, "Well, you can go back down to the bar and finish watching the game if you want." I said, "It's the last night of vacation. I want to be here to put the kids to bed and stuff." So we put the kids to bed. They're all trying to sleep. I've got my iPad on the side of the bed, laying there in the dark, try not to make any noise, watching this fourth quarter collapse, losing my mind. And then Jamal Murray hits the shot. I'm cursing, but trying not to talk loud to wake Marshall up, who's laying next to me. Just, I'll never forget game 2 of that series, laying in the hotel room in complete silence, watching Jokic just pick apart the Lakers again. Like, that guy is just a monster. He's a monster. I don't know what you're supposed to do.
He had a double-double in the first quarter. He had 10 points and 10 rebounds in the first quarter.
Did you see the stat how he put together like another 20-20-10 triple-double, which like since the year 2000 it's been done 7 times and he did it 4 times? It's just I don't know what else you're supposed to do, but yeah, so that was good. They play again tonight. We could probably get into that a little bit, but I would highly recommend San Diego, both for like guys who want to go down, you golf, you could hit out the baseball game. I mean, it's terrific. But for families, San Diego is absolutely terrific. See this moving right now. Bob Cole passing away. Some breaking news here on the Lock Shop. Yeah,
breaking news is right. 90 years old, back in St. John's, Newfoundland, passing away. I mean, you'd be a better person to speak to this than me, considering your play-by-play chops. But when I think of Canadian sports broadcasters, I mean, Don Whitman, I think still is, arguably the best and most versatile ever. Chris Cuthbert is a living legend right now. But man, when you think about the Stanley Cup playoffs, which we're in right now, and the National Hockey League on the CBC, Bob Cole is that guy.
Yeah, it's sad news, man. Like Cuthbert has become my GOAT. Like Cuthbert, because of my age, I guess, and when I started getting into broadcasting, Cuthbert was the guy I kind of looked up to. And, being in the CFL, Cuthbert was a guy, obviously, that, I wanted to follow in the footsteps of. But Bob Cole was the guy I grew up on. Like, oh baby, like Bob Cole, the way he paced his call, and even in the later days, like when he wasn't seeing all the names as well, and some people want to rip on him, just sit back and close your eyes and listen to Bob Cole call a game, man. I don't know how you can do it much better than how he did it. Yeah, grew up as a kid, watching Hockey Night in Canada, listening to Bob Cole, and he was like my first influence as a play-by-play guy. And like I knew I wanted to be a play-by-play guy like by the time I was like 16, 17 years old. And that was basically all because of Bob Cole. Like he was, it's sad. It's sad news to see. Absolute Canadian broadcasting legend. No ifs, ands, or buts on this one.
Yeah, dude, Duck Dad Bob Cole, remember that name, Spency 5 Centsy. That sucks. Grew up listening to Cole. The Doc, we tend to throw around the word GOAT around pretty casually, but Bob Cole is actually the GOAT, no one else. And it doesn't matter what team you are, except maybe the Jets, because obviously, we don't get a lot of the the A team come hockey night in Canada, and unfortunately didn't have enough playoff success in the 1.0 era, thanks to the Oilers, to really have a lot of those vintage Bob Cole moments. But when you go back into Oiler history, Habs history, English Canadian playoff history, Bob Cole is the soundtrack of so many. And I mean, all you need to do is say, "Oh, baby," and you know
Everybody
exactly
knows.
who we're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's great. Where is it here? Yeah, Duck Dad, Bob Cole. Remember that name. We've got a clip on the McDavid goal song where it's like a bunch of Bob Cole clip. McDavid, oh! And yeah, remember that name. Just a classic. Like, to me, his call on the Mario Lemieux goal against the Minnesota North Stars, that was a classic, oh, baby. And Mario sliding into the corner and Cole's nailing the call. That's obviously right up there for sure. That's one of the ones that always comes to the forefront when Mario undressed the North Stars in that 91 Stanley Cup final. It's just it's right up there, man.
It's not taking long for this to completely take over Twitter.
You're
always worried. You're always worried when you see somebody trending at that age. Luckily, we found out that, I mean, it wasn't just being a shock. More and more people were kind of posting about it. But that really is sad news for the hockey world. And like Chris Johnson, CJ said, the voice of Bob Cole will always be the soundtrack to the sport in my mind. And for so many people of multiple generations, that is going to be the case. And they'll, I guess, with none of the Canadian teams playing, or the Canucks playing tonight, they'll for sure have a moment of silence for him. But could not get into the show and start talking about these playoff games without talking about Bob Cole and his role in popularizing the National Hockey League throughout Canada.
Yeah, no, he's that's sad news. I knew he'd been not doing well for quite some time, so kind of thought maybe this would come along the road here at some point. But hell of a run, and he called games into his later years for sure. There's no doubt about that. And I've heard, my stats guy I worked with for the last 3-4 years on CFL on TSN. He rode shotgun with a lot of Bob Cole games back in the day, and some stories you hear about Bob Cole are just absolutely amazing. So yeah, there'll be lots of those circulating today, and enjoy it. I'm looking forward to, after two guys and a goalie today, hopping online and just watching. I'm sure there'll be a ton of posts about some of the best calls that he's had and stuff. So that should be pretty good.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So actually, the Canucks aren't playing until tomorrow.
Yeah, just 2 games tonight.
So there's just 2 games tonight. One is at 6:10. One's at 6:40. And now I guess that's Central, so 5 o'clock your time. Why the hell aren't they making the Islanders and Hurricanes play at 8:30 at night? Or the Lightning and the Panthers?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like, those are still 7:30 starts for those guys. They're not staggering them for the games, because there's only 2 tonight. That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, on these nights that there's 4 games, can we not just get a 6 o'clock game, a 7 o'clock game, an 8 o'clock game, and a 9 o'clock game? Like, does that
just
not be
spread
better?
It out. Yeah.
Because, on those nights, and again, I'm speaking Central time zone here. So 6 o'clock is 5 o'clock in Alberta, 7 o'clock in the East. But, we dropped the puck at 10-9 on Tuesday night. And listen, it's fine at the start of the game. But, man, it really taxes, I think, the players, but also the energy of the crowd when you get into the third period, and God forbid those games go to overtime. I understand why they're doing it, and we know how people are always bitching. Why all the games are at intermission at the same time? Okay, so you're going to stagger them 30 minutes, but for that late, you would think that we could bracket up an hour or so, because you guys are going to have an 8:30 or 8:40 start coming up.
Buddy,
as well,
Friday night. The Jets start at 8 o'clock our time. The Oilers and Kings start at 8:30 our time on Friday night.
Yeah, but that's a road game. Like I can
Yeah,
handle
that's a
the
road
road
game.
game.
I'm looking. Let me see the home games.
saying?
Another 8:30. Let me see.
Like what time did the puck drop last night?
Last night it actually dropped at 8:16ish. We were expecting an
Okay.
8. We were expecting an 8:22. It actually dropped a little bit earlier than we were expecting last night because we were coming from Hudson's. Tommy was doing pre and post, and we whipped over. We thought we'd be in our seats by the time the puck dropped, and we were 4 or 5 minutes late because they dropped the puck earlier than we were expecting. But yeah, it's extremely frustrating. There's no doubt about that.
Speaking of which, what was the how are people feeling after an OT loss to the Kings last night after breaking the streak of losing game one every series? Seems like you're just back to where the team normally is. And they normally do beat the Kings, but it's never short.
It was a classic they'll never win a Stanley Cup with Stuart Skinner conversation today. That was a one. Skinner was not great last night. I didn't think Talbot was great either, but Talbot made a couple of huge saves at big moments, which really ended up being the difference last night. So I still mean, like the Kings, if they're going to allow the Oilers to play the way that they let them play last night, the Oilers are still winning this series. Like it's not like the Kings are using their 1-3-1 to suffocate the Edmonton Oilers. Like that's not what's happening here. I thought the Kings made like Adrian Kempe is unreal. Guy's an absolute stud. He's got 3 goals already in the series. That goal was nuts, man.
Like to have that thing get deflected up and just like in full stride bat that thing into the top corner was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I still like the Oilers. I don't have a lot of worry that they're not going to win this series, but I can't say that I'm shocked that the Kings came up with a performance like that on the road. What they do at home will be interesting, but what was it last year? Was it 6 or 7?
6.
Yeah, I think that's sort of where we'll probably get. What do you think about these games tonight? We just got 2.
It's tough. Just the 2 games tonight, and then we'll get into some NFL draft stuff. If you are listening right now on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you can text us 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and you can hit us up over in the nasty chat over on YouTube. Hammer the thumbs up there as well, and lots of good reaction sliding in over there. On the Bob Cole stuff too, so we'll come back around to a few of those. 2 games tonight in the National Hockey League, as Huss mentioned. Florida, Tampa. I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. That Bobrovsky save. I mean, for me at least, I didn't get a chance to talk about it. That thing was that was ridiculous. I don't know how you can have a better save in the playoffs than what Bobrovsky rolled out.
Parlay. Killed the parlay. We had the other 2 games.
Was that the parlay killer? Oh no.
And the funny thing was, when I left to the Jet game, Florida had dominated the first period and they were up 2-0. And I had sort of written the game off and the parlay, and I never saw an update throughout the game. And we were all down after the Jets lost, and we went for a beer at E&C afterwards and checked the phone and realized that Tampa had actually tied it up and brought it back to overtime, which is a killer. Like, I'm interested in the psyche of Tampa and what we get out of them tonight, because to battle back in that fashion, to be robbed by Bob, and then to lose in overtime and be down 2-0. I mean, they got to feel like they deserve a better fate. Some teams that would kill, and that will kind of take me to the next game. But I do think that Tampa has a level of resiliency that they know what is at stake tonight, going down 3-0, and bring their absolute best performance for the Florida Panthers tonight. And I think if there's a time I'm going to pick Tampa to win the game, and again, it's close to a pick 'em. I mean, we're still getting a nice number.
Yeah, minus 111 right now.
Minus 111 tonight for the Tampa Bay Lightning to get back into this series and give them a chance of staying on serve, if you will, and getting this back to Florida on even terms.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get it tonight. They're in a lot of trouble, and they're a good enough hockey team they've played well enough to be able to pull this off. So I do like Tampa minus 111. The Carolina Islanders game is an interesting one because New York was at a pretty decent spot there and then completely fell apart, Huss. And I'm wondering, how do you bounce? Like, how does a team that barely snuck into the playoffs anyway, bounce back in a situation like this is such a heavy dog in the first place?
They're done. They are done. When 9 seconds basically bounced them out. Now listen, they had the 3-0 lead, but if you dug a little deeper into that game, like if you weren't watching, you just say, "Oh, it seems really close." I'm not sure there's been a game dominated by a team more in recent Stanley Cup history than that one. The shot attempts, Dusty, in the game were 110 to 28. The shots were 39-12 for Carolina. I mean, it was ridiculous. So there's no way I would bet the Islanders in the series. Part of me thinks that Carolina goes in and just kind of mops them in this game. And I'm, hitting the puck line.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely be taking the Canes minus 162 on the money line. And I'm thinking about a minus 1.5 bet. I mean, if they're up, the Islanders have to pull the goalie. I mean, that regulation win almost automatically turns into a 2-goal win if they get it done that way. But as far as the games go tonight, I'm gonna ride with Tampa. And if I'm making one hockey bet tonight, it has something to do with the Carolina Hurricanes, because I think they ripped the souls out of the Islanders with that win in game 2.
Tampa Bay Lightning money line, Carolina Hurricanes money line plus 207. If you wanted to just kind of ride with a couple of money line plays on the way we are leaning on these two games tonight, you'll be able to find that over at Coolbet.com. And if you've not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, use the code LOCKSHOP when you do, and you get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Just quickly, I wanted to get to it earlier, but Matty, like earlier in the week when I saw Matt was on the Lock Shop, he tweeted out, he's like, "We built this parlay." I was like, "You're on the Lock Shop today?" And he goes, "Yeah, the boys are at the Zurich. They're at Zurich," and I didn't read the classic part. And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know there was meetings in Zurich for Coolbet. What's going on there?" He's like, "No." And then I realized, I was like, "Oh, they're at the Zurich Classic. Okay, that makes sense." So yeah, looked like they're having a pretty good time. I saw some of their socials over there. Chad Moore says, "Guys, I like Lindell being moved up for a point tonight." Let's see here. Spency 5 cents. I like Kachuk over 3.5 shots plus 112 on Coolbet. That has hit in 4 straight games. So he's had 4 straight with 4 shots or more, and you can still get it at plus 112. Probably have to like that one as well. If you have any plays tonight, slide them into the nasty chat right now, or hit us up at 780-218-9999. Huss, let me ask you this. Just looking beyond these two games tonight, Winnipeg plus 141 dog in game 3. Everybody freaking out about Stuart Skinner here in Edmonton. What's the Hellebuck conversation been like in Winnipeg so far?
I mean, not freaking out, but I think everyone
because
realizes
he's Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, listen, you know how it is when we're nitpicking particular goals. Like, it's not like there's been a bunch of muffins getting past him. I mean, this Colorado team, they realized, I think, after they got whacked 7-0 by the Jets in that final game of the regular season, they were going to need to really step it up. And I mean, they're rolling out. I said this, and we've been talking about it for the last couple of days, and I threw this out. But is there a better 5-man unit, like 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, in the NHL than McKinnon, Rantanen, Nichushkin, Cale Makar, and Devon Toews? Like, you think about the Oilers, and the Oilers can certainly match the forwards, but I mean, being able to also throw out Cale Makar, who I think is sort of in a league of his own, other than just about every other NHL defenseman, I don't know, it's hard to argue that. And anyways, they've been like, McKinnon's playing like half the game. But to the point of the Jets' predicament right now, like, you don't win in the Stanley Cup playoffs against competition like the Avalanche unless your best players are their best players. And listen, Scheifele's been pretty good. Connor's been great. He's been back checking really hard. Few too many have gotten past Helly. So he's got to go in. I have no doubt that he'll be incredibly focused. He'll be back in the net, and they need him to be the best goalie in the planet to get one of these games in Denver. So He's also the king of the afternoon game, which actually bodes well for game 4. But I am interested to see what we get tomorrow night. The other story around Winnipeg, it's so frustrating. And both teams, I think, can feel like they should be up 2-0, which is weird. Like,
Yeah.
The Jets won game 1, 7-6 in an absolute circus of a hockey game. Like, the Avalanche are thinking, we just put 6 past the Vezina Trophy winner and we lost. And then conversely, you look at game 2, the Jets get an early fourth line goal. Hellebuck looked great in the first period, making 15 saves. Adam Lowry's line played, as close to a perfect game as you can have against a guy like McKinnon at the rate he's going. McKinnon had 1 assist, which was on a bizarre play that really iced the game, taking the puck from the boards and hitting Josh Manson, who just come out of the penalty box. And of course, it was in the second period, the opposite side. So he and Velarde got out at the same time. He had the puck right on his stick and a 10-foot lead on Velarde and no one around him, and ended up scoring. But if you can limit McKinnon to 1 assist, Rantanen not doing much, you got to feel like that's a game that you can win. So, the Avs, I think, have been better through the first 2 games. The series is 1-1, and the Jets won't win if they don't get the best out of Connor Hellebuck. I think we can agree on that. But there's not a lot of... There's probably the odd person in the WST chat that's going, I think we go Brossoit tonight. That will not be Rick Bowness. We'll throw the 37 will be in net, and we'll see if he can kind of will his team to victory in game 3.
Nielsen and Hustler with you here on the Lock Shop on Edmonton Sports Talk today. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and hit us up in the nasty chat over here on YouTube. Hammer that thumbs up if you wouldn't mind as well. We are going to get to the NFL draft here right away. Keyword for the EST Flyway to Vegas final day to qualify. We'll go there in about 10 minutes time. Then we'll call a qualifier around 11:50 when Huss slides over to Winnipeg Sports Talk. But Huss, I do have to. Did you guys talk about the Sean Lemon thing at all yesterday? Did that break when you guys were on, or did you guys get into it on Lock Shop?
Not really. I kind of caught up on most of that over the course of the day. So he's suspended indefinitely betting on games. He did at least bet his team to win.
That's
the
true.
2-game parlay.
I never really have a problem with guys betting on their own team to win. Should just make them try harder, right? Like
Me neither.
Yeah, I really don't have an issue with that. But these types of things are gonna they're gonna hit every single league. I mean, that's just what's gonna happen, isn't it?
Well, and you know why they're doing it. Like, trust me, this shit was happening for a long time.
Yeah.
But now, because it's legalized, there is so much more oversight, which is a good thing, that they're finding this sort of stuff out. I mean, that clown on the Raptors. That's now banned from
Porter.
the NBA.
Yeah.
One of the dumbest. Like, just everything that was surrounding that. Like, hey, listen, not a lot of these guys are Rhodes Scholars or Mensa members. And every now and then you'll have a guy that exposes himself as a complete moron. That was Jonte. For a guy like Lemon to have bet on his team to win, listen, you know the rules. That's the bottom line. Everybody knows the rules. You're not allowed to do it. Don't do it. If you do, you run the risk of some serious penalties. And sounds like that's what Lemon was. It is bad, though, for him because he's pretty much done. But I would imagine, would have been probably a surefire CFL Hall of Famer.
Oh, he would have been 101 career sacks, man.
And this could do it. But again, if I'm a Hall of Fame voter, like, this isn't Pete Rose. This isn't Jonte Porter, in my opinion. So, there was I saw an interesting kind of dialogue or discourse. Like, is this worse because it's gambling and the integrity of the game than, Andrew Harris served a 2-game ban for PEDs. What does that do to his Hall of Fame? He's obviously lock Hall of Famer, and he will be there. But this one, I'm not outraged about it. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's just a further reminder to everybody in the Canadian Football League to keep it clean and don't wager on the CFL. Pretty simple.
Just bet on NFL draft stuff instead, which is what we can definitely get to.
Hey,
Yeah.
what about the hoops though tonight? Because with only 2 games, I'm thinking about maybe putting together a multi-sport banger for tonight. Do we even want to talk about the Nuggets Lakers game? I mean, 10 in a row. Are we going 3-0? I mean, I don't mind the minus 102 on Denver.
It's pretty good value on a Nuggets team that has owned. Like, it's not even like the Lakers have played poorly in this season. Even last year, like last year in that conference final, 3 of the 4 games, it was tied with like less than 3 minutes left. Like they play them extremely well. And then Jokic and Murray have just been cold-blooded down the stretch. So to get the Nuggets at minus 102 is pretty insane value on the Nugs. Almost to the point where I'm like, man, like considering the way they've owned the Lakers lately, why is it not more of a number here?
Now, there's your emotional hedge. There's your emotional hedge.
I should
tonight.
emotional hedge my entire account on this thing. I'll be like, yes. Or I'll be like, no. I mean, either way, I'll be yes. I just don't understand how 2 games in a row against a team as good as Denver, you can get up by 15 and then 20. 15 in game 1, 20 in game 2, and let it slip away. On the road in Denver, like those are phenomenal starts. And then to me, and I'm not a Darvin Ham guy. Like I saw somebody tweet out before this series, some Lakers account I follow, and they said, either way, this is a win-win because they beat the Denver Nuggets and likely go on to at least the finals. Or they lose and Darvin Ham gets fired. You don't have to worry about him anymore. And just like, yeah, okay. I mean, I can kind of see where that's coming from. But I wonder, like the Lakers come out with great starts. Are the Nuggets and Malone just adjusting better? And Ham has no play once you get to the second half? Like, because it doesn't make any sense. So the play is probably the Nuggets. I mean, it's likely minus 102. The Lakers can't find a way to hang on to these games. Even if they get up by 15 tonight, I'm still going to be like, doesn't matter. When Jokic gets going, I don't know how you're supposed to stop him, to be honest with you.
My favorite play tonight is the Sixers minus 5.5. They're a minus 227 money line favorite, down 0-2 in the series. Completely blew it in bizarre fashion in game number 2.
That was a wild finish.
Totally. And Nick Nurse says he was calling timeout, and the guy ignored him. I see Embiid taking over in this game, and the Sixers winning comfortably. This series is going to probably go 7. I think they'll get the calls at home. I think they'll benefit from the fact that they're down 0-2, just as sort of the nature of hoops. So my favorite play tonight, and I will be on it, Sixers minus 5.5. And there's no, I'm full Nuggets guy. Eh? This is while you were gone. There's a new promo on Coolbet during the playoffs. Every weekend, you get one wager to throw a 20 with the 20% multiplier.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, what game do I like the most on this? And I said, no, you know what? I'm using this on a future. So I made a larger wager, use the 20%er on the Nuggets to repeat as champs. I'll tell you what, that looks good after the Heat voodoo worked again against the Celtics last night.
Well, that's the thing. Like I look at it right now, and the Lakers are a good basketball team. Like the Nuggets are they're just, to me, this goes one of 2 ways. The Nuggets win this series, go on and win back-to-backs. My other theory was the Nuggets lose to the Celtics because they're a 64-win team in the regular season. But the Celtics, I mean, what happened in game 2 of that series, I think you have to kind of question if that team, and the Celtics have always been a group that sort of let you down, but I love their depth now. But I feel like Nugget 2 days ago, my theory was the Nuggets either go back-to-back or they lose to the Celtics in the final. But I don't know where I come out on the Celtics right now. So, yeah, I don't know.
All right, did you do keyword already?
No, I'll do the keyword right now. Then we'll get into the NFL draft. Let's do this. Okay. You can text it in. It is your second last chance to qualify. We'll have one more chance coming up on 2 guys and a goalie today. Your keyword for the EST flyaway to Vegas, which, of course, 2 nonstop flights with our great partners at Fly YEG, 3 nights accommodations, tickets to a Cirque show, all presented by Fly YEG and the LVCVA. They've got nonstop flights over 50 destinations. Your sports trip starts with a nonstop flight from Fly YEG. Visit www.flyYEG.com for more info. Your keyword on the Lock Shop today, and I don't know if this is tied in because we were just talking. It works out well though. Your keyword today is Joker. Joker. Joker could be as in Djokovic, could be just as in deck of cards. Joker. Joker. Text Joker right now to 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. The keyword is Joker. And best of luck to everybody. 2 more chances to qualify right now, and then on 2 guys and a goalie, and then we'll give away a trip to Vegas tomorrow morning. Huss,
That is unreal.
you looking at that NFL draft board right now? Is that what you're looking at?
Oh yeah, I am. And I just want to thank the schedule makers for giving the Jets and Avs an extra day off. I love the NFL draft. I watch every pick through the first round. And now that they've split it over 3 days, probably in front of the TV watching most of the picks. And listen, betting on the draft is fun. I mean, it's a very inexact science. I don't know about you. I went through every mock I could see at the end of last night. There's a few more coming through today. And I made a point of at the end of the show going through a few of the odds because I knew they would be different today. And I'm actually feeling pretty good about the wager that we threw out at the end of yesterday's show involving JJ McCarthy. But we're basically on to the 3rd pick, it seems. Caleb Williams is a Chicago Bear. Jaden Daniels, through every account, is going to the Commanders as the number 2 pick. He's minus 1,000. Drake May at plus 600. Where it gets interesting is the number 3 overall pick. Yesterday, it was in the minus 300s for Drake May. He's now minus 286. Still a favorite in the expected selection for the New England Patriots. But the JJ McCarthy number has gone from, I believe it was in and around 5-1 yesterday to plus 180. Now, I didn't think that he would go there, but there is some steam that maybe that's the guy that New England wants and they'll pick, or someone will move up to get him there. I read like Daniel Jeremiah, who I think is probably the best in the biz, in his mock actually had JJ McCarthy going to the Vikings, but they didn't have to trade up to get him. Like they just picking him at 11. And that's the best case scenario for Minnesota. But as we see what's happening right now with this line movement, not quite. Marvin Harrison Jr. is minus 400 at the 4th overall pick. Everyone seems to believe that Arizona is just going to go take the number 1 receiver on the board, get a franchise player, and move on. Yesterday, at the end of the Lock Shop, Dusty, I gave out J.J. McCarthy as the 5 overall pick, which is assuming a Vikings trade with the Chargers. We know that the Vikings moved up and got a 2nd first-round pick. They're going at 11 and 23. The Chargers have a ton of needs. Will they go that way? I'm sure they're tempted to take Neighbors or Adzune.
And just to add a receiver that they desperately need, yeah.
Considering they just got rid of Keenan Allen and Williams. But knowing Harbaugh, he wants to tackle Joe Alt, and they're going to give it to Gus Edwards 35 times a game, or we're going to get to see the brilliant Justin Herbert hand off all night. But the McCarthy number's gone from plus 425 yesterday when I got it on the Lock Shop to plus 235. J.C. Latham, who I believe is the top tackle, is at plus 185. Joe Alt plus 400. But the number on McCarthy's come down. So at least we got some good value on that. If it does come through, we better betting it yesterday than it's better betting it today. But to me, that's the most interesting story. What the Vikings do they get JJ McCarthy, and where McCarthy goes off the board as the likely fourth quarterback picked. The other thing is the number of quarterbacks picked in the first round. I've seen mocks that have had 6, which include Bo Nix and Big Penix Energy, Michael Penix from Washington. And I've seen others that only have 4 going. I'm just looking for the number right now.
I don't see it.
I was looking at quarterback.
Yeah, I was looking for it earlier. They got offensive players up, but I don't see the quarterbacks up right now.
Okay, so that's probably off right now as things get shaken out. You'll see things come on and come off based on reports. But what do you think about McCarthy and the Vikings in particular? I mean, if you had to, do you think he goes top 5 and someone trades up to get him, or does he drop a little bit? Don't forget the Giants 6 as well.
Yeah, it's funny because as I was prepping for this today, the number one storyline I've got here is JJ McCarthy. Does he go in the top 5? Because the 5.5, it's like the first place you can kind of start to find a little bit of value at the top of the board. And I was watching, I guess it was with Schefter and stuff popped up on Twitter, and they were talking about how much the line has moved. And people, somebody had the theory that Harbaugh was actually going to move off of Herbert to take his guy, JJ McCarthy. And I was just like, somebody pointed out how big of cap penalty it would be. It'd be the most ridiculous thing ever. It's not going to happen.
Anyone talking about that is either engagement farming or just doesn't understand.
It made no sense. They don't
works.
understand. I think it would mostly probably be they don't understand how those rules would work if they moved off of Herbert in that situation. But I think you make a really good point on the Chargers have a lot of other needs. They could move down and still get one of those top 3 receivers in this draft. I think there's a chance that you could probably do that at some point, depending on how far you move down. So it would make sense. I'd love to see what the price is on it.
I don't think they can get one of those 3 receivers if
not
they
at
move
11.
to 11.
Not at 11. Like if they can, you know how it works in the NFL draft. I mean, you move down to 11, then you slide back up to 8. You slide back up to 7. You know, there's a way. There's probably a way to go about it if they are very much a hardo to get one of those receivers. I mean, the good thing, the good spot that the Chargers are in here is that they can look at it and go, well, you know, we can kind of play it a little bit, see if somebody's willing to pay a significant price to move up. And worst case scenario, you keep the pick and draft an elite receiver. I mean, that's not the end of the world. So my gut says he's not going top 5, and I'm not sure he's there at 11. Maybe they move up a little bit higher to secure him. But I don't know. I mean, the NFL draft's always a wild card. It's amazing. You're right on watching the NFL draft. It's like, you got all that time between picks. So like when you have kids, I can do quick things with the kids. And I'm like, nope, picks in, here we go. So I'm very much looking forward to this tonight.
You know, a couple of other names that are out there. We've talked about those 3 receivers that are going to be out. Well, another interesting thing, Jeremiah was on Pardon My Take, and he mentioned that the real strength of this draft is wide receivers, and he has, I think, the 3 wide receivers ranked in his top 4 or top 5 of actual draft prospects. We know how important quarterbacks are, so if there's a good quarterback, they're going to get taken a little earlier. Offensive lineman, and this is wild, Dusty. Offensive lineman drafted in the first round, the total is 9.5, and the over is minus 182. Sounds like a crazy number. Like for double-digit offensive linemen to go at that number. I mean, part of me thinks just go plus 135 on the under 9.5 and think maybe a guy or 2 drops out. But then the other one is corners. And cornerbacks drafted in the first round is 5, over plus 275, under minus 5. You got Cooper DeJean. You got Kool-Aid. How's this name? Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I've seen him mocked to the Detroit Lions a few times. Old Kool-Aid.
Yes, exactly. And I think are the Lions 29th?
They are late. Let me see. Let me just double check.
Do I have any mocks still up?
I had 3 mocks up earlier. Let's see
Let
here.
me just put this in NFL draft order.
Yeah, 29.
29.
Yep.
Okay, because his over 28.5 is plus 105. And he's going to Detroit in a lot of the mocks that I've seen. So maybe we take Kool-Aid at plus 105.
Well, I see Matthew over there in the nasty chat. There's been some Kool-Aid discussion over there today, and Matthew says Kool-Aid will be picked in the teens.
Okay, well, then that's why then you go with the under. Do you think he's the teens? Minus 147 for under 28.5 sounds pretty good. Do you know that? Are you familiar with this Cooper DeJean out of Iowa?
No, I am not.
White cornerback.
Whoa.
First rounder. Like, I've been trying
That's
to
a
think of this.
unicorn. That's a unicorn right there. Like,
is this the first white corner since Jason Sehorn? Like, I know there's some other guys, like definitely secondary players, safeties. We had our guy, Dirty Dan and KC for those years. But a first rounder from Iowa. And he's basically like early 20s in most of the mocks that I've seen. So, yes, he is a bit of a unicorn, although I don't see. No running, under half a running back in the first round is minus 2,000. No one expected. It's relatively weak class. But the offensive players drafted in round 1, 21, just offensive players. I think when you combine the quarterbacks, the receivers, the tackles, over 21.5, I think is the play on that one at minus 115. And knowing how good the bookmakers and odds makers are, it probably ends up as a push at 21.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because that's the one that kind of jumped off. I was going through all these today, and I don't know, I went through the time I had probably 3 to 4 different mocks and just counted up offensive players. And man, it was settling in around right under 21. Like 19. I saw one that only had 19. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then I've seen some that have a bunch of wide receivers going in the first round. So, I mean, that's probably what this comes down to. You know, the offensive linemen are going to get drafted. You know, the number of quarterbacks, it's going to at least be 4. And then we'll see if it gets as high as 6. Yeah, that's an interesting one as well. I mean, I just can't. It's wild. Like, there's enough anticipation around the NFL draft and each pick that I don't feel the need to bet on it, but I still bet on it. It's just like this added bonus when there's already the anticipation there.
I think we've just discovered a little bit of a nice edge for us on that topic. So offensive players drafted in first round is 21, and it's minus 115 on either side. Defensive players drafted in round 1 is 11. The over is minus 154. The under is plus 115. So if we're thinking that it's going to be over 21 players, by definition, that would mean under for the defense. And we can get plus 115 as opposed to minus 115. Conversely, if you think it's going to be under 21 for offensive players, take the offensive number under 21 as opposed to the defensive over at minus 154. I don't know whether that line hasn't caught up with it right now, but that's what I'm looking at right now. To me, those are opposite bets, right?
They are opposite plays, I mean, yeah.
Players are considered, like, there's no special teams guys that are going in the first round. You're either offense or you're defense. So under 11 plus 115, a little plus money. That'll be a fun one to ride with if we do think that way. And I think that's what I'm going to be looking at.
What's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, Huss?
Well, Pagnotta is going to join us from the fourth period. We'll talk about everything happening in and around the league coming out of last night in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We will go to Denver. Murat Atesh of The Athletic is going to join us. We'll dive into Jets Avs and look ahead to tomorrow in Colorado. And a very special guest, legendary Winnipeg Jet, Ulf Nielsen, is joining us from Stockholm, Sweden.
What?
There's Ulfie's coming on. There's a reunion of the 75-76 Avco Cup Winnipeg Jets coming up next week. So the organizer and Ulf are going to come on. We'll talk a little bit about that event and just a few memories of the old days and see if Ulfie's been paying attention to the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. So it should be a lot of fun. And we will do Coolbet lines again towards the end of the program. And I'm quite interested. I'm remembering what these numbers are, particularly the JJ McCarthy numbers are right now. And we'll see if they're significantly different in 2 hours when we do that on WST. So it's going to be a fun one. Good to have you back, man. It's great that you had such a good time, but it's good to get back to business.
It's good to be back, especially with playoffs, NFL draft, CFL draft next week, NBA playoffs. I'm always a huge fan of. It's a good time to be back, no doubt about it, and be around for the next Scotty Scheffler win as well. So that's good. Huss, you have a good show.
By the way, just if you want to throw a bit of a bomb today, a 4-gamer, we're going to jump on the Canes and Lightning, the Nuggets money line, Sixers -5.5 plus 10.67. Just a little sprinkle on that.
Little sprinkle. Good stuff, bud. Have a good show. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Take it easy.
There you go. That is Huss, Winnipeg Sports Talk, coming up over on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel. Good to be back with Huss, man. That's exciting. I swear Matty Iwanik's trying to steal him from me. But totally understandable, and I respect the play. All right, we've got our qualifier, second final qualifier here for the EST Flyaway to Vegas with Fly YEG. Zach Dickham, who's qualifying here at the end of the lock shop?
Wes is qualifying, second last qualifier.
Oh, boy, Wes getting in under the wire. Congratulations, Wes.
Nothing like leaving it to the last minute.
No doubt. I mean, who knows? Maybe you turn this thing around, qualify today, win the trip tomorrow. Who'd you bring with you?
I'd take my wife for sure.
Okay. You guys been to Vegas recently?
Not recently. The last time I was there was for my daughter's 15th, she was a 15-year-old soccer tournament. So we were kind of limited as to what we could do. So this time we'd kind of do everything we could.
So you're saying if you go back this time, you win the trip, you're not planning it around a soccer tournament?
No, we're not.
Okay, good idea, Wes. All right, man. Well, tell your friends about Edmonton Sports Talk, and good luck tomorrow morning.
Thanks a lot.
All right, see you, man. There you go. Congratulations to Wes. One chance left to qualify. Coming up on Two Guys and a Goalie. We'll give you the keyword around 12:40 today. Cass, Gager, myself breaking down the Oilers' Game 2 loss to the Los Angeles Kings. That's coming up on Two Guys and a Goalie. That's going to do it for the Lock Shop today. Good luck tonight, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.